Mascots. Interesting anthropomorphic characters. The imagination surrounding mascots can take many different shapes and forms. Where do they come from? Where are they going? Behind their seemingly cute images, what kind of connections do they have with our world? Today, we're gonna find out. Hey guys, this is Wowu. So all these questions and thoughts in my brain, they tumble and flop like clothes in the dryer. From the lens of mascots, turn out we can actually gain a whole lot of ingenious views on how the world operates. Specifically, there are cultural diplomacy, commercialization, and zeitgeist, / a sense of belonging to a certain community. So cultural diplomacy is important in foreign relations. One example would be Japanese company Sanrio's product, Hello Kitty, which brought to Japan the trend of a kawaii diplomacy, which has numerous papers covering on it, but they all come down to this one quote by anthropologist Christine Yano. Hello Kitty represents a highly successful soft power niche for Japan that builds upon an arsenal of innocence that perform innocence calls upon an infantilized position that makes a retreat from responsibility possible. The positioning of Hello Kitty as the face of Japan represents the power of the would-be child, at once appealing, seemingly benign, and ever in need of care and nurturance. Hello Kitty's kawaii diplomacy performs the gender politics of scale, juxtaposing feminized small positions within large masculinist frames of national branding. Another quick example would be China's panda diplomacy. This shows the number of pandas China gave out in the 1900s, and this is how much the US now has. Recent study shows that there is a direct correlation between panda given out and trade agreements. As well, in the recent MH370 incident, China delayed giving out the pandas to Indonesia to show its discontent with how the local government handled the issue. From Hello Kitty and panda, we can conclude that cute objects can represent a certain diplomatic position, standing as a strategic outpost ancillary to foreign relations, acting as an output of national culture, and making something ordinarily cute very interesting. Then there are business mascots. I think they're super fun. Here, let's take a look at them. Mascots also play a role in our everyday life, from retails to technologies to furnitures to food items. We eat, drink, wear, and use the items that are represented by mascots, or started by mascots. What do I mean by started by mascots? So, actually, the successful introduction of internet, you have these guys to thank for as well. Back in the 90s, when the internet and computers really started to take over American homes, tech companies needed those playful mascots to show buyers that this new technology wasn't so intimidating. So, conducive to business growth, mascots also generate a fair number of revenues on its own. I mean, you turn them into clothes, cars, pencils, whatever you would like. So, mascots bringing the cash. And then there are these cute little things. So they represent the zeitgeist and the community. From the Jingli fish in China to the Gudetama egg in Japan, plus the various mascots on campuses across the US. They represent a sense of community and how the generation is feeling about the society to a certain extent in certain examples. So, the Gudetama egg became popular because of its relatability. Here, Vox gives a really nice explanation about it.
When Hello Kitty came out in 1974, she was more traditionally cute than Gudetama, but she remained somewhat emotionless. She doesn't even have a mouth to smile or frown with, and that makes her more of a blank canvas. She can be whatever we want her to be. But many people feel a connection with Gudetama because of its gloomy personality. This approach to cuteness extends beyond appearances. It evokes a reaction. These characters can make you laugh or feel relaxed, and you can relate to them by observing their personality. So, at a time of confusion and turmoil all around the world, maybe this is just what we need, an egg yolk with a little bum that's just done dealing with life.
未来が見えない。
今日はいいことあるかもよ。
As for Jing Li, it goes along with the new buzzword 内卷 in China, which in direct translation would be involution. It is used to describe a bottleneck situation where a culture has evolved to a certain format, where it can neither stabilize nor evolve into something new on the outside. So it keeps on by unnecessarily complicating its inside structure. Now, with the structures getting ever more complex, it takes so much more effort to get a job or obtain whatever resources there are. It is like everyone is building rockets and planes for the limited numbers of a job that, in practice, might only require the knowledge of a vector equations. And Jing Li became a popular symbol by that site, very, very long story short, by the sheer fact that everyone wants good luck, to stand out in that competition, to excel, to win. And Jing Li brings that good luck as the young generation believes in the Chinese culture. So all in all, mascot represents a sense of community and belonging, and to a degree reflects the zeitgeist of how the generation is feeling about the society.
With you, I can be sad with you. Just take my hand and fly.
And it's in-person time. Get excited. And I hope you like my room and my lighting. If you don't, nothing I can do. So my particular topic today, going along what I've been talking about, I'm trying to focus on the Tokyo 2020 Olympic mascots, so Mighty and Muratoa. They, as the mascots of the Olympics, I'm curious, what kind of impact do they have in the three aspects mentioned above? Cultural diplomacy, commercialization, and building a sense of community. Do they, as Olympic mascots, stand out as the mascot that has it all? So Muratoa and Mighty are finalists from more than 2,042 designs submitted to the Olympic Committee. They were chosen by the primary schoolers from the other two finalists as the ultimate winner. Muratoa's is cheerful and remarkably athletic, with a very strong sense of integrity. It has a special power to instantly teleport anywhere it wants, while Mighty usually is calm, but can become very powerful when needed. It has a dignified inner strength, and it always loves nature. Now, before delving into how Muratoa and Mighty fit the three main themes of cultural diplomacy, commercialization, and a sense of community, it is important to note that the Tokyo 2020 Olympics have received criticisms in all kinds of ways. And one quote from Jules Boykoff pretty much sums it up. If the Tokyo Olympics bring a legacy, it may well be that the world has opened its eyes to the ingrained downsides of the Olympics: overspending, displacement, greenwashing, and a decimation of the democracy. Indeed, fair. Tokyo 2020 has been a little bit messed up. Well, first of all, there is this whole budget issue. The budget in the end is $28.1 billion. In comparison to other countries' past budget, which you can see here, there are some agape differences there. And with all that money spent, there are discerning benefits. Between 2014 and 2020, there were $100 billion US worth of game-related construction investments. And part of it, of upgrading sophisticated Tokyo infrastructure, will have marginal benefits. It's hard to measure how the new communication and tourist infrastructure, as well as green efforts, will improve economic performance or benefit locals. And essentially, it is wrong to equate Tokyo with Japan in measuring benefits. Game will only serve to reinforce disparities in economic and cultural activities between capital and Japan's peripheral regions. All this money spent could have been spent on hospitals or schools, or hey, they could even use it to build planes. Tokyo 2020 was branded as the recovery and reconstruction game, but essentially, whose recovery and whose reconstruction? There is this idea of creative reconstruction, which means basically how the reconstruction project destroys conventional productive relations and social capital and creates the foundations for a neoliberal social vision. One example would be that after the Kobe earthquake in 1995, priority was given to a large projects over individual recoveries. So it was emphasis on new development over redevelopment. And it kind of carries on to how the government dealt with the Tohoku incident of 3/11. A lot of the criticism is, hey Japan, you're rebranding you're branding your Olympics as this recovery Olympics, but look at what you've done to the places that you aim to recover. So a lot of the criticisms are government's recovery efforts. They ended the housing subsidies, and they changes the permissible radiation exposure, and the government kind of branded it as recovery Olympics. Meanwhile, they kind of really tried to minimize and suppress media coverage on the issues in Tohoku. And it goes along with this idea of disaster capitalism. It was quoted that without a reconstruction of Tohoku, there can be no reconstruction of Japan. And using those emotional slogans receive a lot of backlashes, given that the actual recovery really wasn't fully given or achieved in the region that it was supposed to help. And in terms of sustainability, the wood used aren't even from where they are claimed to be. So with the new stadium built from woods from all 7 prefectures in Japan, that wasn't actually the truth. Figured out with media coverage that a lot of the woods actually came from Indonesia and Philippines, the South Asian countries that actually caused deforestation in these regions. And under the campaign of greenwashing, it just doesn't really seem that much sustainable anymore, and just feels like a bunch of lies. And there's so much more. Here's a slide kind of summarizing them, like bits of them. There are also bribery by Tokyo officials to secure IOC bid. There's also plagiarized design of initial game logo. And there's also National Olympic Stadium design controversy, too expensive. And there is the intense summer heat and humidity outlook that reflects the very notion of climate change, the need to bring sustainability while this Olympic event happening it's really like they really just oppose against each other and have some interesting conversations going on. And then the over sexism of the Japan Olympic Committee, who made sexist comments on female celebrities in Japan and got fired. There are just too many scandals surrounding it. And despite all these controversy and plus the pandemic, the Olympics still went on. And so with that in mind, Meritowa and Somaiti, in relation to their role from a diplomatic standpoint, are the representatives of Japan. They showcase the transition of Japanese culture from old to new. Unlike China's panda diplomacy, the retrieval and granting process of panda in correlation with the political standpoints with the target nation, the Olympic mascots are designed to be an omnipresent, all-accepting figure that facilitates peace and unity. It is not exactly like the kawaii diplomacy led by Hello Kitty neither. Hello Kitty is presented with the elimination of critical features, such as mouth, to express emotions for flexibility on how she can be interpreted. The Olympic mascots are designed to have a distinctive personality. Nevertheless, I do see some aspects of that kawaii diplomacy in Muratoa and Somaiti. So Muratoa's integrity and Somaiti's love for nature, plus their kind of all nice images, they help Japan evade from some of its responsibility from the past and its sustainability issues and some of its controversies. It's almost as if you're saying, hey, look at the mascots. They're so cute. Let's forget about the bad stuff. We actually care about nature. We love nature, and we're all about justice. And there's that, basically. And in terms of commercialization, Muratoa and Somaiti were projected to bring in more than $100 million worth of revenue. From clothing to furniture to food items, they have it all. But the reality is a bit different. According to New York Times article that came out in August, the data from sales of official Olympic merchandises, including mascot-related products, was not yet available. But just by interviewing people at the site, this man said that he and his 10-year-old daughter took a dim view of the official mascots and had no plans to buy mascot-related merchandise. He said, quote, "For us parents, it is hard to keep up with the names of all the different mascots that keep popping up." He said, "Don't these two have especially difficult names to remember anyway?" So that goes along to the sense of community belonging and the zeitgeist. They don't really do it so well either. From the same article with a different person interview, Jillian Ray Stelter, a professor of informatics at Shizuoka University, she said, "They're not hated design-wise. They seem to be functional. They seem to be doing a good job. But there just doesn't seem to have a lot of passion for them." Plus, Miss Cartier of Mondo Mascots said that may be because their names don't really roll off the tongue, and they could be just unlucky to be representing the Olympics that is being held during a pandemic with few spectators. And in conclusion, the mascots in Tokyo 2020 are special in many sense. As to the main three themes of the mascots, for a minute, they seem to have it all. I mean, they do fit in a little bit with the kawaii diplomacy. They do reflect that stance, and they were projected to earn revenue, though we don't know how well that's going to perform yet. And they do give a sense of belonging to the Olympics despite the limited numbers of spectators, with a lot of downsides. So they are at the same, they seem to have it all, but at the same time they don't. I think part of the reason attributing to it is because that Tokyo 2020 is special. Many of the concessions the committee had to make alongside with it was its unique and last-minute arrangements in response to COVID-19 crisis. And that was the main reasons behind many of its seeming failures, causing the mascots to be underwhelming as quoted by the New York Times article. Maybe Beijing 2022's mascots can give us a different answer as to how they can fit into the three categories frames. Given that it's going to be a panda and a lantern, there is something going on there that can offer lots of space for comparison and discussion. Maybe a different look at the panda diplomacy of how the commercialization could be. Maybe panda diplomacy will change as we know it. Here's the never-ending stories of mascots, everyone.
So clear with you. I wanna stay with you. I wanna stay with you. I wanna